opens with an info dump, which works quite well because you keep coming back in the film to journalism, to how it is being reported on baseball. Because one of the things about baseball is, of course, the radio and the news articles and the photos. And I think that went very well because they can set the stage, they can talk about the greatest generation, they can talk about the wars just over, people are coming back. What they're not talking about is that women were doing the baseball right then, and the League of Our Own is also very important. That, they should have, so literally men come back and nobody wants to see women do baseball immediately, so very sad. Anyway, that's not what this film is about. This film is about getting black baseball players into the major leagues. And so I'm watching the entire film thinking, what is the motivation of this Mr. Jackie, who, Harrison Ford plays Mr. Jackie, who owns the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Montreal Royals, and it's like, what is his motivation to get? Yeah, there's a money sign coming from the... Yes, capitalism. He talks about they're very good players in the Negro League, and he wants to get into that and get them to the World Series. He wants his teams to get to the World Series. Fair, okay. And then we get little morsels during the film. It's like, oh, so there's a couple of white people and a couple of black people who have a motivation more than just we could make some good money off of this if we can get to the World Series. One other motivation is having a good team. My life is baseball, that sort of rhetoric, and there's a whole bunch of people in there that do that. And that's fair enough as well. Is your life more baseball than it is racism? Then you would want the black people on your team. A lot of people in there, that's like they'd prefer to hang on to racism, thank you very much. Eesh. So this film is not really a baseball movie. It is a movie about dealing with racism, and can you deal with racism? So we're looking at 1945. It's New York. So that's different from somewhere down south. And they're looking for a baseball player who could do this. But they're looking specifically for a black baseball player. And what struck me a lot was the methodical setup of this whole thing. Like Mr. Rickey may have been spending the entire Second World War, because he's an old dude, may have been spending that entire time thinking, how can I get the high-end black players on my team, because he's so prepared. He's got the plan. He knows how to instruct everybody. He knows how to talk to everybody. He knows how to deal with every single piece of underhanded racism that gets thrown at him, and he instructs Jackie Robinson to be strong enough to not fight back, to just play the game and not engage in the pushing back against racism that he's going to get thrown at him. He knows it. Everybody knows it at the beginning of the film. This is going to happen. And the film goes one by one. All of it's going to happen. They made a point of that Jackie Robinson was from California, where there was no segregation, and he and his wife were not used to segregated areas such as whites only, blah de blah. And then he would stand up against it. So now you're asking a person who is very good at standing up against these things to not stand up in favor of being the first black in that century. The first black player. They had done it in the 1880s and then they had stopped doing it. So now there was no law against it, and the film makes the point. You're going up against not just public sentiment, but you're going up against everybody's personal sentiment at every given time. And you see some of these people changing their thought pattern, some of it literally in favor of the game. Do you want to play with this person and go to the World Series, or do you want to be a redneck racist and not play ball? So that's, yes, the it's sort of like religious almost, the baseball. But if religion gets you there, if it's like, yes, we all agree that we want to play a good game here and we want to win, because that's, you want to go up higher and higher and higher. It's about winning. And I think, I have to get the name right, I think Mr. Rickey does have that in mind. I think that's his entire end goal. He's probably seen over his entire career that there are extremely good black players that if in order to be the top of the what they would call the World Series, you're going to have the best and need the best of the best, and that's going to be a mix of both the league, the white leagues and the black leagues. So he was the first to do it, and thereby making history, and therefore this movie is good for Black History Month. I had not heard of this film, though. And my sister has not heard of the film. So, did it not come to the Netherlands? Why not? It was well received. They spent 40 million. They picked up 120 million. So they tripled.
Ford.
It's Harrison Ford. And it's like, yeah.
And Chadwick.
Yes, Chadwick Boseman. And this is, I don't know if it's his first role, but it's certainly his first big role. And he's excellent. So is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford said that he needed to not be Harrison Ford for this film. And that could be a question of, be a character actor. And he did it. So that's very good. It's a religious character that he's got. He speaks about God a lot. But in the film it comes from his idea only. He needs to talk to the other people on whatever board he has to make sure that they're on board. And he has to baby every single coach, except for this one coach that is going to be a replacement coach that had no... I mean, they make a point of that this coach was morally advanced, loose, however you want to say it, didn't mind having an extramarital affair. But this coach also didn't care. It's like, give me players that I can go to the World Series with and I will deliver. And yeah, we have things like an umpire that wants to go completely up against, is going to call the wrong things, say that Jackie was out when he was in, and all of that. And then we have the nominal racist. He's not nominally racist, definitely racist, but it's sort of like encapsulates like the outside racism is Alan Tudyk as Ben Chapman, and that's all of this is history. It did happen, so it definitely falls smack dab in History Month, and he encapsulates all the stuff that Jackie Robinson would have been getting from the other teams as they were playing, and this was pretty damn bad, and it resulted in that it was so racist with lots of slurs, like endless slurs, and this movie just does them, so you do need to know that before you watch it, that the press starts to pick up on this, and the press is like, that's a little bit lots, and one of the things that Ben Chapman then says when he's called on it by the press later on, he says, oh, well, we use all these slurs all the time while we play the game to get at the other team. And, and then he uses examples of slurs against Jews and slurs against all sorts of stuff. Oh, it's really, really bad. And he said, and then it's all over after the game is done. And here he's sitting with like the entire press going, we don't think this is over. We think this was really bad. Don't do that anymore. And they have this photo shoot, which is also one of the real things that happened. I see Jackie Robinson with Ben Chapman holding a bat together, like friendly, not at each other. And that they had to do that and then Jackie says, let's hold the bat so we don't have to, because they were supposed to shake hands. It's like, we'll hold the bat so we don't have to touch each other. Yeah, it was really that bad. There's a couple of items where there's a co-player. Oh, all his co-players, all his teammates start off like except for one or two, but most of them do not want this. So now I'm looking at this film and I'm going, okay, so what needs to happen if this person was coming up by himself? This was not going to happen. The only reason this is happening in this situation is because Mr. Rickey had decided, and he owns the team. And then he can call up the other team in Philadelphia and saying, my team is coming and we are putting our black guy in. Because they didn't want that. And he said, oh, do you forfeit the game? You know, the Philadelphia team says, we will not play the game with if you do that. He said, okay, you forfeit in that case. Which means they win. And he does this to every single step of the way. So yes, it would have been over the course of 2 years. It does show that this is about 2 years that this is happening. But to do the right thing, to have the right response in all of the situations is exceptional, because that is usually what chokes you up. Because you don't know the right response to get over this.
The stubbornness of this guy. And you have to be so stubborn and so sure that you're doing the right thing. That's difficult.
Yeah. And that may come back to the fact that he's a religious guy, because he fully believes, he says at some point to another team owner, he said, when God asks you, this was for the Philadelphia thing, when God asks that did you do the right thing? And God will say, no, you did not do the right thing, because, canceling a game just because there's a black guy playing on the other team is dumb and insane. I saw an interview with Chadwick Boseman, and he said that Jackie Robinson was not just a baseball player. He was in fact a track runner, jumper. He had also been in football teams. Oh, I'm forgetting now. Tennis. And there was one more. So he's like an all-round athlete. And he was from California, so he was in the football team. For sure he was in a mixed team. And that's one of the things that they mention in the beginning, is that one of the reasons to go with Jackie Robinson as the first one, because the idea is, and that they make no bones about it, that he's going to be the first and we're going to bring people in once we have broken this glass ceiling. So we got Boseman as Jackie Robinson and Nicole Beharie as Rachel Robinson, and awesome. And Alan Tudyk as Ben Chapman, that's a thankless job, it's a horrible role, but he did it very well. I saw some reviewers talking about, because he is a comedy actor, he was actually able to deliver all these lines, because he is an awful lot of slurs that he had to throw over the field there, and it went on and on and on. It has to show enough that this is going to be the point where Jackie Robinson is going to want to fight back. It's going to be literally, if he is any sort of man at all, you would want to start hitting people at this point. And that worked very well. You could see the rest of his team get extremely uncomfortable over it. One of them actually went up to Ben Chapman to call him on it. And also, it shows that doesn't work either. It doesn't do anything. And that's why it's so difficult to know what to do when somebody is being bullied. This is like, racism is like bullying on the amount of steroids that they can't even, And the scene after that, it's not known whether this actually happened, where Jackie Robinson walks off the field and he's down in that area where they have to walk through to get on the field down. And he's from the changing room, so he's away, And he uses his bat and he basically breaks the bat against the walls and, screams as any person would at that point. And then the scene continues with Mr. Rickey comes up to him. And this is a guy maybe in his 70s. So white guy who basically owns his contract, but, owns what this guy is whether he's going to be on the team or not. And talks to him and says, I need you to be a baseball player. And it's done. I can't reenact it. It's done extremely well. That scene is worth watching, but it is quite... because they're actors, Harrison Ford comes up to him and gives him sort of like a hug from behind. I don't think that these guys would have done that. I think at that point, Robinson wouldn't have wanted anybody to touch him because, you got so much adrenaline running through your body. And maybe that's what they thought would bring down the adrenaline or, however. But I was like, it's really beautifully done. It's also done with like a camera fairly far away. So it has this certain... still sort of like a discongruity about it. That it's not right, it's not good. But I think it is a filmic way of showing these emotions and how these men would possibly deal with them, because he had to go back on the field and he had to go back in the game and he had to go hopefully win it. That it is not a baseball movie. So the only game things that we see is where Robinson goes on the field, does his thing, is trying things out. He's very good at stealing bases, which I love because I played softball and I was very good at stealing bases.
Well, he was a runner, so that makes sense.
Yeah, he was also a runner. Yeah, I mean, football would involve an awful lot of running as well. And he stole. And he said in the Wikipedia page that the baseball was not even his best sport. Football was. So that's interesting. But he chose to go with this when they got the offer to go. If you do this, you go to the Brooklyn Dodgers. You might make it to the World Series.
And the baseball was the big thing in the 1940s, not American football.
And that's another thing that I looked at, is what's the biggest sport in America around the 1940s? It's baseball. It's not boxing. It's not, even though they had
for
Muhammad Ali.
Many years.
Yeah. And then I looked at all the top, let's call it top 25 movies of sports films coming out of the US. And it's Rocky, it's Hoosiers, this one is on the list somewhere, not at the top. Rocky is at the top. Hoosiers is like number 5 or 6. So, Field of Dreams, baseball. And then you've got a bunch of other boxing films and you got a bunch of other baseball films. It's mainly that. There's one ice skating films, which is the Tanya one. So that's not, I would say, a fun I didn't actually watch it yet because I'm like, ugh. So I like figure skating. I guess I should watch it sometime. But yeah, so for American sports movies, it's baseball or it is
Boxing.
It is boxing. With boxing, if you look at Rocky, it is very much about the fight and the training for the fight. But you look at Hoosiers and you look at Field of Dreams and 42, this is not about training up. Hoosiers a little bit, but it's not about training up for baseball. Field of Dreams is not even about baseball. Even though it's on the, very, very high on the list of sports films. I mean, he was a farmer. He had a field. So, it was all woo-woo. It was very nice. Definitely watch it.
Good woo-woo.
Yeah, we like it. I mean, they made a stand against school. The school was banning books. They made a stand against that. This is not a baseball movie. But, yeah. So, this film, I think what the strength of baseball movies is that second thing that you can talk about. I didn't see the Ali film yet. It apparently didn't do very well with Denzel Washington. This film did a lot better, which is around the same time. But I saw Rocky and stuff. And then it's about the underdog. This film, 42, is also very much about the underdog. But in this film, now I'm back to what I wanted to say. So he is... Rocky is underdog. He fights from the bottom up. This film says that the way to get black people into the major leagues is if the powers that be, gosh almighty, this is very, a new thought. The powers that be decide black people should be in the major leagues. Or any color. So it should be not, and there weren't any laws. They specifically say there's no law.
Yeah, it's just convention.
Yeah, and so they go to the southern states. They're in Louisiana at one point, and one of their co-players, who is a Louisiana person, gets a letter. And this is one of the things to watch this movie is all these points where they hit all the things that racism can do to undermine getting equality. He gets a letter from his people. Or whatever, a hate letter. You're gonna be we will call you a carpetbagger if you're going to be playing in our town with that black person. They use different words, but the word carpetbagger was in there. So he comes to Mr. Rickey, and Mr. Rickey says, "Oh, and you have a problem, Mr. Rickey had to deal several times with the people on the team saying, "I won't play with." And he says, "That's great. I'll have your resignation, and I'll." Most of them didn't leave because they're like, "No way, this is the Brooklyn Dodgers. I want to stay." But one guy persevered, so he got it changed over to Pittsburgh or something like that. But this guy comes in with the letter and is very upset. And Mr. Rickey pulls out a large folder. And it's like, and they are death threats to
everyone.
No, yeah, to Jackie Robinson, to his wife and his baby. And this guy gets to read all of them, and he says, "Does Jackie know?" Yes, he does. Oh, and he's still playing. Yes, he does. Yes, he is. But it's the film, and this is a lot about films about race relations and not relating very well from the US, it is a white film talking to the white audience saying, listen, these are all the things. And it's always nice to have it projected to the past. These were all the things. Surely we wouldn't do that because that's actually pretty horrible. But that's easy, makes it easier to talk about. So you'll find that a lot of movies that address real horrible topics like that will have placed it in another time. Science fiction does that as well, saying, "Oh, we're Star Trek, we're sci-fi now." But if we were to talk about racism, maybe it's about this, like the two, the white and the black sides of the face, and they're on the other side, and then freak out the people who are watching because it's basically talking to the people who've never had to think about it, which is not black people. Black people have to think about this all the time. So these films talk to white people, white audience, and I feel this film did it very well. I'm gonna take that most of that was as it happened, because all of this has been written down. You've got his chronicler is right there. I like him. That's Wendell Smith. And he is immediately, as Jackie has gotten the contract, he's like, okay, I'm your chronicler. I'm right here. And he's actually working for a black newspaper. The Wikipedia page, I believe, said that this chronicler was the one who's also been in... Years before he was a baseball player, was in the Negro Leagues, tried to get into the white leagues and didn't manage it. And so he knows all these people, and he's a journalist, but he's a journalist of baseball. He knows everything. So I think during the film, and in the period that the film sets in is they become good friends, and that because he's always like in Smith's car. He never is in his own car because he's always either in a bus or in a plane, and all of that. So they do address being able to be in the same hotels that the Dodgers team was always in when they were going around the country doing all these games.
That's segregation.
Yeah, and then being refused, but they don't say what the solution to it was. They just have the scene.
And there isn't one.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're gonna have to find another hotel.
There is a true story of, oh my god, I think there was one for Lena Horne as well, black actress in the 1940s. I'm not sure, this might be another person's story, but it's something similar happened to her. She came to do a gig somewhere, and then because there was a swimming pool, she took a swim in the swimming pool, and then when she came back after, they closed the swimming pool because now they had to drain it because there had been a black person in it. My God!
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. And so they should make a film about Lena Horne, actually.
They should.
That's overdue. We want to see the black guy stories, but we also want to see the black women's stories. I liked the one that was about the hair product.
Self-made.
Self-made, yeah. And that was produced by the woman who plays the lead. And that kind of stuff. We own voices, because it doesn't talk to. It's not made by white people for white people. That was made by black people for black people. For anybody.
The advantage of this movie of 42 made for a white audience is that it explains the things that white audience or general audience might not know, whereas a black audience would have known, and to them it's obvious. But to a white audience, because you want everybody to be able to appreciate it, you need a certain amount of explanation for the things that you don't know.
That's why I think 42 is like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. It's telling the stuff to the people who don't have to deal with this the whole day long, and don't have to deal with it with their children going to schools, and with yourself trying to find work and whatnot. And it's very clearly talking about where the glass ceiling was for the black players in this thing. They even had a Negro League for that and all of that stuff. So the segregation in this thing is clear. They explain to you that it wasn't based on a law, at least not in New York where the Dodgers are, and that even though it's not based on a law, they're still having to deal with every single person's prejudice, and all the direction. And so this is all you can cram into a movie. So it's not doing a huge amount of baseball, but I like a movie with a heavy story, and I don't mind movies with messages. Give me all the messages, because where else are we going to be getting them? You get like an absolutely gorgeous lead character with a very good supporting cast, and give me the story, make sure people see it. So please do bring it out in Europe, because we may not be the biggest baseball fanatics in the world, but people just want to see stuff. And
it's about people.
Yeah, it's history, and it's Harrison Ford. We watch here in Europe. We watch films from all over the world. We watch a lot of American stuff because you guys produce a lot. The difference is that a lot of people around the world, all the women and a lot of other people, don't have to see themselves projected on the screen in order to actually go watch something. And this film specifically talks to the white male, because they have the little boy. They have two little boys. The first one is a 10-year-old Ed Charles, which when it was filmed I already knew that's a historic person. I have no idea who this person is. They say Ed, okay, then the name's been dropped. You're supposed to know. it is a very good baseball player from the 1960s, 70s. So, but he saw Jackie Robinson, and that is actually true. The brush with history, that was actually true. And so yeah, great example, all that, very good. And then there's this other white boy down in maybe Louisiana, and he goes there with his uncle or his father, and they start shouting slurs. They're in the audience. I think it's the nephew of the guy who got the letter. But yeah, they are there. Slurs are being shouted by his male adult father, I assume. That was his father. And then he's shocked with his maybe 10, 11-year-old. But then he realizes this is what everybody is doing, so he starts doing it as well. And to me, that was actually a really interesting scene to me I am a woman, I'm not a 10-year-old boy, I am not an American, I'm certainly not from the South. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, they're showing how somebody gets basically brainwashed into being that in the world. But what it's really is they're trying to show the little black boys for the black audience, little white boys for the white audience, because all the audience for Hollywood is always male, and they have to see themselves and have to see, oh, that's why I did that, because my dad did that. And it's like, the people on the team also kind of go through that. Is like, why don't you see how good this player is? Don't you want to play with a good player? And then they're like, oh yeah, I thought it was important, but I guess not. But it takes time. Yeah, one of my thoughts for Black History was that I know that the American military were segregated during World War II. I know that after it they weren't, because in the Korean War, and you have seen it all in MASH, they have all, the color of the skin doesn't matter. So, but did that happen during World War II? Because it's Jackie Robinson was in boot camp at the end of the war. He was being trained by the army, and he was there that was mixed. So in all the other things I've ever seen of World War II and Americans is that there weren't mixed armies. That they were, and we know that the Japanese, for specific reasons, were in their own regiments. So that's my question. And then there's the 42. I mean, yeah, there's a tearjerker moment. At least for me, it was like, oh, is when they make a remark that his number is 42, and then at some point one of his teammates makes the remark of, he doesn't say it quite like that, but to stand by you, we should all be wearing 42. And then it is in like postscript, it shows that they retired the number 42 many, many years later in honor of Jackie Robinson. And then in even more many years later, everybody wears 42 for a certain moment or ceremony on the field in honor of Jackie Robinson. And that was the point, like going, okay. Yes. So, yes, it does deliver on. He did a really good thing. I think the movie is really trying to say that. I don't know if Mr. Rickey was really as golden good as he is portrayed here. He kind of seemed a little bit like the white savior. I don't know if they intended that either.
Somebody has to make the first move.
Yeah, somebody has to be bold enough.
Yeah,
and maybe an old guy.
It's going to be a white guy, because that's the only way for the black guy to get him to come in.
And this was all orchestrated. This was on purpose. And life would be so much better if it's all done like this. If the powers that be say, right, we're now all going to be equals, dudes. This is what we're doing. It's so much easier than to wait for every single underdog to fight their way to the top, no matter how filmic and cinematic all that is. And Tearjerker.
You get a lot of busted faces that way.
Yeah, and most people don't get there. It's fantasy. You need so much effort, and you're asking so much of people. So I think that's something else to take away from this film, is it actually shows that if the powers that be make a good decision, it can trickle down and people will finally go, yeah, okay, if I'm going to lose my job, because I also want to play ball. And that's where it comes down to, is you actually just want to all be doing that job because that's the dream job. So I liked it. Absolute must see. It's very well filmed. It's beautiful. It's well done. Everybody's good in it. They don't pull punches, which is good with the slurs. I was very surprised, but then that was also to start to realize that this is a movie about racism, and so if you're not going to show it, then it's going to be very difficult to deal with. And then you have more of like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where you're just intellectually talking about it all. So, excellent film. Make more. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.